Okay, let's dive right into this. Welcome, everyone, to today's Explainer. If you've ever felt like your interactions with AI are a bit like, I don't know, throwing spaghetti at a wall just to see what sticks, well, you're in exactly the right place. We've all been there, right? You type in a quick request, hit enter, and what you get back is just a wall of generic, useless fluff that completely misses the mark. But today, we are looking at a fundamentally different approach. We're moving away from all that frustrating guesswork and really adopting the mindset of a master builder. Think of this explainer as your structural blueprint. We're going to unpack the core techniques and templates that literally transform a simple, chaotic text box into a highly precise, powerful command center. So this brings us to a really fundamental question. When you sit down with an AI, are you just casually typing out a thought, or are you actively architecting a prompt? Because honestly, there is a massive difference. Typing is, well, it's entirely passive. It's kind of just hoping the AI magically figures out the context and nuances of what you want. Architecting, on the other hand, is deliberate. It's a structural engineering process where you design the inputs so precisely that the AI essentially has no choice but to give you the exact output you need. It's about fundamentally shifting your mindset from a casual little chat to deliberate structural design. So, let's lay the groundwork. Section 1, Architecting the Prompt, the foundation. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is unpacking that word architecting. The process of architecting a prompt is above all else meticulous. It isn't just some fancy buzzword for writing. It's a highly deliberate methodology. It actually involves looking at your raw materials, your core techniques and your templates, and really piecing them together to build unbreakable AI commands. When you architect, you're controlling every single variable before the AI even generates a single word. And what are those variables? Well, they're your constraints, your background context, your desired tone of voice, and your specific output formatting. By meticulously defining these parameters right up front, you completely eliminate that ambiguity that causes AI to give you those generic, unhelpful responses in the first place. Okay, with the foundation poured, let's look at the framework. Section 2, the instructions prompt technique. The instructions prompt technique is literally the essential scaffolding of your AI interaction. And you simply cannot build a complex structure without scaffolding to hold it up, right? In the context of our source material, this technique is all about giving the AI explicit, absolutely unmistakable directions. It's the difference between lazily asking an AI to, say, write an email versus instructing it to write a persuasive 200-word email targeting B2B marketing executives. Notice the difference there? It's huge. That second instruction works because it gives the AI a really clear role to play, a specific audience to speak to, and a strict constraint of 200 words. That exact level of precision and boundary setting is exactly what dictates the success of your prompt. So the crucial point here is that the source material actually lists this exact phrase twice in a row. Instructions, prompt technique. Instructions, prompt technique. Now, in any document, when a core concept is repeated back to back like that, it's screaming for our attention. It underscores the absolute undeniable necessity of this step in the process. You simply cannot skip the instructions. Think of this technique as the engine of the entire operation. If you fail to provide precise instructions, the AI has literally no choice but to fall back on its generic training data, which, as we know, will always lead to average, uninspired, and often wildly inaccurate results. Let's move to and see how this builds into a cohesive strategy in two really clear steps. Step 1 is where you craft that vital scaffolding. You actually implement the instructions prompt technique. You figure out exactly what the AI must do, and you define those constraints. But a raw instruction just floating out there in the void, that isn't enough to guarantee success. Step 2 is where you house it. You take those carefully crafted instructions and you place them safely and securely within the general ChatGPT prompt template. And that brings us to the ultimate blueprint. Section 3, the master plan. General ChatGPT prompt template. And this brilliantly illustrates how your core technique, those specific instructions we were just talking about, needs a structural housing to function reliably. That structural housing is the general template. Think of it as the solid walls in the roof of your house. But what are those walls actually made of? Well, a strong general template usually includes several really defined pillars. First, there's the persona, telling the AI exactly who it needs to be, whether that's a senior data analyst or, say, a creative copywriter. Then you establish clear context, the vital background information the AI needs to understand the why behind your request. Next comes the task itself, and this is exactly where your meticulously crafted instructions prompt technique slots in perfectly. Finally, you define the output format, dictating whether you want a bulleted list, a markdown table, or a formal letter. When you lock your instructions inside these precise walls, you ensure that every single time you interact with the AI, you're communicating in a structured format it natively understands and processes with maximum efficiency. It's a real game changer. Let's just quickly summarize the core components of our blueprint. To have a cohesive, professional workflow, you need to synthesize these three specific elements. First, you adopt the overarching philosophy, architecting the prompt. Second, you apply the specific mechanism, the instructions prompt technique. And finally, you secure the whole shebang within the structural framework, the general ChatGPT prompt template. When you combine the overarching philosophy of architecting with precise instructions and a secure template framework, you essentially eliminate AI hallucinations and guesswork. You stop guessing and you start engineering. We're bringing our architectural metaphor full circle now with Section 4, Your Next Blueprint, Final Polish. I want to leave you with the exact title from our source today: Architecting the Prompt, Core Techniques and Templates. I really want you to treat this as your guiding philosophy. The very next time you open up an AI interface, remember that you aren't just chatting. You are deploying targeted techniques and filling out structured templates. You have the tools and you have the methodology to dictate the exact quality of the work the AI produces for you. Which leaves us with one final, absolutely crucial question. What will you architect next? Now that you understand the detailed mechanics of the instructions prompt technique and the structural security of the general prompt template, the possibilities are entirely in your control. Stop typing, start building, and take absolute command of your AI workflow. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I honestly can't wait to see what you build.